You know this is an important one, and I know this is an important one. So in this video, we're going to be going over the best class setups for all the sniper rifles inside Modern Warfare 2's multiplayer. So the first gun we're going to talk about here is the MCPR-300. This is the first sniper rifle you get when you obviously start this game. And we have done a bit of testing when it comes to sniper rifles, aim down sight times and damage ranges to some extent inside a private match. So we will discuss our findings throughout this video as well. I do also want a prerequisite that unfortunately in our marksman rifle video where we discussed guns like the SPR, we didn't really talk about idle sway, which we probably should have, but we will show that in the firing range with the sniper rifle videos. We will have more in-depth content coming out as well, so just keep that in mind, and also subscribe to the channel for all of that as we try to reach our goal of 50,000 subscribers. But let's get straight into this one. So for the muzzle, you want to use the Dreadnought. This is going to help with bullet velocity, and it's going to give you sound suppression, which is obviously but this attachment will be pretty much standard across every sniper. I do want to make you aware of that. And then when it comes to the laser, again, we are using the OLE laser. It's the best laser in the game when it comes to having a fast as possible aim down sight time, and also helps with sprint to fire speed, which again, in hand with aim down sight time, makes your gun feel a lot snappier. Then when we discuss optics here, we actually did do some testing on optics and aim down sight times for them. So first of all, this optic on the MCPR is not great. It's not my favorite. It's not bad to use, but it's just not great. I really do like the SPX optic. I think this is one of the cleaner sniper optics in the game. And what we did was we actually compared the aim down sight time between this one and the base optic, and we actually got the exact same aim down sight time of 617 milliseconds for this sniper rifle. And then we also tested all the other snipers as well for aim down sight and changing the optic to this one in particular, because this is the one I found that works and looks the nicest. And again, there was no difference to aim down sight time with the optics there, so I just want to make you aware of that finding. So what I would recommend is not changing your optic, because at that point you're basically just wasting an attachment. There's no real benefit other than the fact that it looks cleaner, and even then most of the optics are usable in this game anyway. So we are going to use a stock in this case, and it's the one that helps with aim down sight time, which is the Merc stock. And this is going to give you a bit of a faster aim down sight time and faster sprint speed. It gives you crouch movement speed, which is not too important, but it does con your recoil. Now, conning to recoil on a bolt action sniper is not too important, so we don't need to worry about that too much. Rear grip, we are using the Cronin Cheetah. Again, this is going to help with aim down sight time and sprint to fire speed, which, like I said, hand in hand, basically makes your gun feel a lot snappier. Again, it cons recoil. And then you do want to go for ammunition here and actually go for high velocity mags, and this is going to help you basically get better bullet velocity. It does con your damage range a bit. Now, I do want to mention that some of the barrels here do obviously help with bullet velocity and also help with damage range. Now, if you're on the larger scale maps, this will be a better option, and we're mainly talking about the OMX barrel here. So this will be the one that you want to use if you're playing Invasion or if you're playing Ground War. But if you're playing 6v6 or any other of the smaller maps, then the build that we've shown you just here is perfectly fine, and you're going to get a super quick ADS with it. And to be fair, it works well on the larger maps as well. So taking this gun into the firing range, showing you how snappy the aim down sight is now. I will have the aim down sight speed at the bottom of the screen so you can see it with this gun in particular. And as you can see, I mentioned earlier that the base ADS for this gun was 617 milliseconds. And now it drops it down to basically 550, which is a good drop in aim down sight time. Now, when it comes to aiming stability or aim sway, as you can see here, the gun is pretty stable at this kind of range here, which is pretty decent in my opinion. It's not really swayed off the target. And then if you are firing, in terms of recoil, it does recenter, but a little bit higher than where your shot was. As you can see, the bullet was right there. So we'll do that again. So the bullet was down at the bottom there. It does recenter a little bit higher, so that is what they mean by recoil. But of course, when you're playing the game, you're obviously going to be scoping in, taking your shot, scoping back out, scoping in again, taking your shot, scoping back out. So it doesn't really matter too much, like I keep saying. The next gun we have is the Signal 50. Now, this gun actually feels really good for a semi-automatic sniper rifle, and I'm quite excited about that because it's not very often we see semi-auto snipers in Call of Duty games do really well. And this is actually a really good sniper for multiplayer anyway. Hopefully it does the same inside Warzone and DMZ, but I really do enjoy this gun. It actually feels really good in private games, but when it comes to the attachments, the OLE laser, once again, is going to help with that aim down sight time. And then we are using the equivalent of the previous silencer, which is the Nil Sound 90 silencer, which again helps with the same benefits as before. Now for the underbarrel, we do want to use the shark fin underbarrel. He is going to help with idle stability, and it gives you no cons, so I mean that's definitely ideal. When it comes to optics, again the same thing applies here. If you do pick an optic, it's not going to help with aim down sight time, so there's no real reason to change it. I'm not a huge fan of the optic on this gun, but again, then we are actually going to go for the inline stock, which helps with aim down sight time. Once again, we are just focusing to get this gun as snappy as possible. And then lastly, when it comes to attachments, we're going to choose the rear grip that helps with aim down sight time as well. Now, flinch resistance is an important part of this as well, so just make sure that you are focusing some attachments to flinch resistance if you need to, but the main thing you want to use is actually the focus perk. That is actually in the perk category. That will help out an absolute ton as well if you have that unlocked. Now, of course, you want to play larger scale game modes, and if you need that extra damage range and bullet velocity, you can remove one or two of the attachments here and put on the FSS Jetstream barrel. This is not going to con your recoil, but it will con your aim down sight time, whereas the other barrel here, the 29-inch, it does con your recoil, unfortunately, but the recoil on this gun is already pretty high, so I wouldn't really recommend doing that unless you really need like the maximum bullet velocity out of this gun. So this would probably be for like Warzone. From what I believe, I don't really think you need it even on Invasion or Ground War. The Jetstream should be perfectly fine. So taking this gun into the firing range, again, we'll look at the aiming stability here. As you can see, again, it pretty much stays on target for the most part, which is absolutely ideal. It's what you want to see from your sniper rifles. Now, when you take a shot, it recenters higher than the first shot as well, so keep that in mind. And with this gun, that is more important because this is actually a semi-automatic weapon, so you will need to recenter to fire it again and again and again. So just keep that in mind with this gun. I think it's really, really important. Now you can obviously do the usual aim, unscope, and then shoot again. Because to be perfectly honest, it is a high caliber rifle. You will be getting a lot of one-shot kills with this, so you don't really need to keep spamming the trigger. But if you are going to spam this trigger, then make sure you are pulling down on your analog stick somewhat to recenter the weapon manually. Next up, we have the Lab 330, and again, similar to before, we do have the laser on there, the Dreadnought muzzle, and high velocity, which is going to help with the bullet velocity of the gun. When it comes to the other attachments here, for the stock, you do want to use the stock that's going to help with aim down sight time, which is the padded extension. This is the one that, like I said, it's going to help with sprint speed and ADS. It does con your recoil once again, so just keep that in mind. When it comes to the comb, again, we want to use the one that's going to help with aim down sight time, and this actually cons your aiming stability, which is a bit unfortunate, but we are trying to make some of the more aggressive snipers in the game. And this is an absolutely solid sniper. It doesn't really have the fastest ADS, which I kind of expected it to. I don't really know why. And again, if you are trying to build this gun for Invasion or any of the other game modes, then you can choose a different barrel here. The one I would actually recommend is this one right here. So it's the 23-inch barrel, the 23.5-inch fluted barrel is going to be the best for any of the larger scale maps. And again, it cons your recoil and your ADS time. So again, taking this gun into the test range, when it comes to the idle sway, you can actually see here, it still pretty much stays on target. It's probably got one of the worst idle sways out of all the snipers we've shown so far. So as you can see, it's not the best, but it still stays on target at 50 meters. Now, we would realistically like to test this up to maybe 100 meters or 150 meters, because that is where a lot of your gunfights will take place on the larger scale maps like Invasion or Ground War. But for 50 meters, this is good enough for multiplayer. 100% you can be hitting your shots very easily with this. Now again, with the recentering, if you're taking a shot here, it does recenter higher than the target. So as you can see, we're going to shoot pretty much at the chest, and you'll end up above the head with the recenter. So this is what the recoil is when they say there's recoil on a sniper. Basically the recenter's above the head, so just keep that in mind. But overall, in terms of snappiness, this gun does still feel relatively decent. If you are holding down lanes, it's still going to be pretty good. But the aim down sight time, you will see on screen just now as well, it isn't the best, but like I said, it's still absolutely usable. Last but not least, we have the SPX-80, and again with the attachments here, you've got the Dreadnought once again, which is the best muzzle. We've got the OLE laser, and then we've also got high velocity. Now when it comes to the last two attachments, once again you want to choose a stock and a rear grip. Now the stock this time is going to be this stock right here, which actually helps with aiming stability, crouch movement speed, and aim down sight speed. So it's the first one, the DMR precision, and then after that you actually want to go for the rear grip that helps with aim down sight time once again, which is going to be the match grip, and this overall is going to be the best build for the SPX80. Once again, if you're playing larger scale game modes, then what you might want to do is put on the 22-inch cavalry barrel, but this actually removes your muzzle if you do this, so I do need to run some testing to see if the Dreadnought muzzle gives you better bullet velocity than the barrel, and which one is technically the meta here. But overall, I do think the Dreadnought muzzle is one of the best options to use, so I would recommend this one first before doing any barrel attachments. So lastly, taking the SPX into the firing range, we're going to show the idle sway first, but whilst we do that, I do want to point out that the idle sway is actually probably the least out of all of the snipers we showed in this video, which is absolutely ideal, which is what you want from a sniper rifle. You don't want it bobbing all over the place. You want to be able to land your shots even when you're not holding your breath. And obviously, when it comes to all the snipers, I did forget to mention they're all one-shot headshots out to what I can guess is infinity range. I have tested up to about 80 meters inside multiplayer, and it works perfectly fine. This isn't a private match, by the way, but when it comes to the kind of larger scale maps, I'm not really 100% sure if it's going to drop off at any point, so we will need to test that going forward. We will make obviously stats videos as well, but as you can see, idle sway is really good on the sniper. The ADS is the fastest out of all the snipers in this video as well at 500 milliseconds, which is absolutely perfect, and this is why this is my favorite sniper, because it just feels super nice to use, and you can pretty much not miss a shot with this one. It literally feels so good when you're using it. And again, with the recenter thing, I'll quickly show you that as well. So if you take a shot, it does recenter higher, probably the worst out of all of them. But if you are scoping in and then taking your shot like this, then it's not a big deal too much, because you will be just scoping in and scoping out. So there we have it. Those are all the best class setups when it comes to the beginning of Modern Warfare 2 for sniper rifles. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe, and thank you very much for watching.